There's a lot there to unpack. I would not describe creating a framework as anything other than dictating to our constituents what they must do. Although I will admit that I find this bill quite puzzling in a number of ways, because it actually does create several open doors for landlords. First and foremost, I think you're off the hook if you simply do not dedicate any parking spaces to your tenants and you revise all future leases so that they are no longer including a parking space. It seems to me that that would preclude you from ever having to accommodate your tenant via this framework. I bring that up not because I think that's something that landlords should do, but I do believe landlords should know that they still do have that freedom, at least temporarily, until this law passes and this legislature comes back next year or the year after to quietly deprive them of the ability to make that determination for themselves, which is what this is all about, Madam President. This is a bill that opens the door to slowly depriving the actual owners of property of their right to do what they want with it. It's unbelievable that it could be categorized or characterized rather as a framework for a landlord and a tenant. It's not a framework. It is an infringement on the freedoms of our constituents that we are supposed to represent. This whole section is referred to as the right to charge section. Well, there is no right to charge, Madam President. You don't get that right because charging requires that someone else provides the charging facility or the ability to place one there for you. And that's something you don't have a right to. None of us have the right to work or production from another. That's the point of rights. It's to protect us from infringement from our fellow citizens. We have the right to make our own choices. And one of the rights that has been protected in this great country of ours since its beginning is property rights. The right to do what you want with your property. Because at the end of the day, all the properties mentioned in Section 4 of this bill belong to someone else. They do not belong to the Connecticut State Senate. And the Connecticut State Senate shouldn't be telling these people what to do with their property, even if it's just a framework. It's up to them what they do with their property. And I believe that those property rights and the fact that people purchase property for a purpose, which is to better themselves and create and generate income and wealth, is what has driven our country's engine to get us to this point, where we live in the most prosperous time in all the history of mankind. When you, as a government, come in and you tell someone that they no longer have the right to choose how to use their property the way they want, which is infinite, by the way, they can choose a multitude of ways to use their property, and you take that away and you say, no, Mr. Landlord, your property, we're going to tell you how it can be used from now on. And you do it in a limited fashion. It can only be used this way. You are limiting that engine. And you are also depriving every citizen, that landlord, his tenant, who might aspire to own their own property to put an electric vehicle charging station on, you're depriving them all of the incentive to do so.